Hello everybody, this is Terry Jeanette with the Tapping Flamingo, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about this pendant that I made and then put it into a piece of jewelry. So the other day I was surfing around on YouTube and there was a video that came up and it was all about making Natasha beads out of polymer clay. Now, I had never heard of Natasha beads. I am just getting into polymer clay. I absolutely love it. And I've made a few other beads before this one, and I will show those at a later date. But I really like how this one came out. I specifically made it for an event that's coming up. I'm actually part of a line dance group. We're called Southern Sass. And we perform at different venues, and we have a venue coming up, a luncheon honoring our vets, and we're going to be wearing red, white, and blue. So I thought, you know what, I want to make a really cool Natasha bead out of red, white, and blue, and this is what came of it. So I used some red wire to make the bail. And I did gloss this. I didn't gloss the back though. And the reason being is because this took forever to dry. I mean, like 2 days. It's not supposed to take that long. So I'm still trying to learn about what's best to glaze and how to glaze and all. I used a polyurethane that's recommended by a lot of polymer clay artisans, but I think there's 3 reasons I think it took forever to dry. Number 1, I live in Louisiana and it's very humid right now and we've been having rain. It takes forever for my laundry to dry. It takes forever for anything to dry. So that is one problem. Another problem is the polyurethane I have no idea how old it is. It's pretty old. That may have something to do with it. And then the last reason is probably because I put too thick of a coat on. I wasn't really thinking. I know better than that, but I just wanted to hurry up and get it done. And when you hurry up and try to get things done like that, sometimes it takes longer to get them done. Anyway, it is dry now, and I want to create something with it. So I have these red glass beads. I think they'll look really nice with. And then I was looking through my blue stash. And I'm going to use these really pretty blue beads. Very, very lightweight. I don't know what they're made. I think they're glass. But they are almost like you can't even tell you're holding them. They're very light. Now I always have to have some bling. So I'm thinking about putting these in there. And one other thing, I don't know if I'm going to use these or not, but I have these crackle agates. And I thought those might be fun. But since I'm using these, I may not use these. Or I may just say no bling today and use these. We'll see. I wish you could see what these blue beads look like in person. They are just really, really pretty. They have a very, I don't even know how to describe them. They're just absolutely gorgeous though. So let's kind of play around with some different patterns here. I do know I want to use these 2 little beads at the very end, so I'm just going to set those aside. In fact, I'll set them over here. And I think what I want to do is have the blue beads on either side of here. I think they will make the piece pop. And then maybe we'll have one of these crystals, the white crystals. And then maybe I'll do 2 beads. We've got 2 beads here, so maybe we'll just do that. And just kind of make a pattern of 2 beads and 1 bead. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do with the little tiny red beads. Yeah, I like this, but we've got to get some red in here. Let me finish this up. So maybe we can take these red beads and just put them on either side of the white beads. Yeah, I like that. That makes these white beads pop. In fact, it makes everything pop. Whoops. A bead board is the best to do this, but if you don't have a bead board, some type of a cloth is really good to work with too. That way your beads don't go rolling all over creation. They still roll a little bit, but if I was just to put this like on my table, which is wood, we would have beads going all over creation. All right. I pretty much got this laid out how I want, and then my silver beads at the end here. Now, this is not as long as I want it. I am going to use chain to put in the back of my neck. I actually like doing that. I like the way it looks. But also, once you get to a certain point in your neck, unless you have really short hair or you wear your hair up, you don't see the back of your neck. So you can use less beads this way. I like it just because I like the way it hangs. All right, let me get my beading wire, and I'm going to start beading this guy up. I'm going to put all my beads in here because I don't want them winding up on the floor. That's another tip you could use. Just when I'm videotaping this sometimes and I'm trying to get in the eye of the camera so you can see what I'm doing, if I've got them laid out here, I tend to knock them off on the floor. So that's really the main reason I'm doing that. But let me get my beading wire out, and we're going to start putting these on the string. Oh, and one other tip too that I would like to share with you. If you are using the monofilament wire and you used a wire cutter or flush cutter to cut it last, sometimes it's a little thicker at the end. We're using these really, really tiny beads here that have itty bitty bitty holes. Take a pair of scissors and just trim the top of that off, and it'll be a lot easier to thread those little bitty holes in these little bitty beads. So we're now in the middle. We're going to put on our pendant. Yeah, I'm going to like that. Now for this very tiny little seed bead. Boy, those holes in those red beads were really hard for me to see. That's coming out very nicely. Now what I need to do is get some of these clamshell crimp bead covers, is what they call them. I do not use crimp beads. Many years ago, when I was taught to do jewelry, we were not taught to use crimp beads because they didn't have crimp beads. Instead, we used these, what they call crimp bead covers now. We called them clamshell bead tips. And we put them on the wire. Like so. And then tie 2 overhand knots on top of each other. Like so. I make sure they're tight. And then I feed the clam shell bead tip or crimp bead cover down so the knot is inside. And then I take my pliers and carefully squeeze them together. And then I take my cutters, my flush cutters, and trim it off. And then I always feel if there's anything sticking out, which there's a little bit of something sticking out, and I just kind of move it up or try to move it in there. I don't feel it now. So that is good to go. And some people, when they do this, they like to put a little glue in there, but I don't do that. I've been doing this for almost 30 years and have never had any issues with anything falling apart. Now on the other side, it is a little different because you are going to need to feed your knots down and inside. And I like to use my pen. For those of you who have seen me do this before, you just take your pen, you put it in the loop, and I just slide it inside there. You don't want it to be too tight, but you don't want it to be too loose. Then you're going to do it again. The second knot I will do a little tighter, just so it will fit in there. You want to make sure your loop doesn't go behind the little hook on this clamshell. Okay, and once you've got that in there, you need to make sure your knots are inside. Again, you just squeeze it shut. Trim your excess. And then we have most of our necklace done. I need to go get some chain and a clasp and get that done, and we're good to go. So I decided to use this toggle clasp, and I'm going to need a couple of, you could either use jump rings or split rings. I'm going to use jump rings for this necklace. And here's my chain. What I did is I measured out how much chain I'm going to need. And I went ahead and put it on there. I cut it a little bit, just a tad bit longer than I needed. Just so I'm going to cut one of these hooks here. So it's just like an extra loop that I cut. But anyway, I need to find the middle. And then clip that, and it looks like this is, let's see. Okay, there's the extra loop right there. So I'm just going to grab that with my cutters. Clip it, make sure you hang on to it so you don't get all this flying all over the place and possibly in your eye. And then we're going to open our jump rings. I need to get my little, oh here it is. Need my little helper here, my jump ring opener. I'm just going to open that up. Feed this on. Whoops. Feed that on there. Close it back up. Make sure it's tight. Do the same thing over here. I think I'm going to feed the chain on first. I think that's a little easier. And we have us a finished necklace. How fun. This is going to look good with the red t-shirt that we are going to be wearing, along with the masks that I made everybody. We're not under a mask mandate anymore, but since we're going to be in a big crowd, we thought maybe it'd be best if we wore our masks. Besides, I made these before our mask mandate was lifted, and we might as well go ahead and wear them. Anyway, let me know what you think of my Natasha bead. I still need a lot of work ahead of me to try to figure out how to make these seams not noticeable in the back. But I think I get the front pretty good. If you have any hints on the glaze, I would really appreciate any input on that. And here is what it looks like on with the shirt I'm going to wear it with. I think it turned out really pretty cool myself. I just need to figure out how to paint the back so it's not so sticky. Anyway, I want to thank y'all for watching. I appreciate a thumbs up. Mostly though, I hope y'all have a fantastically wonderful day. This is Terry Jeanette with the Tapping Flamingo signing out for now. Bye-bye.